I was born, bred, raised right here in America. I am 100% American, and I am nothing else. I'm okay with that. You don't need to call me an African American. I don't need the prefix put on the front of who I am, because now you're trying to take away from my Americanism.
Every good part of American culture comes originally from black people. Slavery's impact cannot be understated in our ability to grow this nation at such a rapid rate. We owe them everything, right? And from slavery, from that, comes all of the modern music we love, right? The blues, jazz.
I'm American.
Yeah, but so you're Afro-American.
Officially, legally, I have an African passport, South African, and an American passport, so that would make me legally
an African American.
I'm American.
Yeah, but so you're Afro-American.
Yeah, I mean, I'm African American, but like my people have been in America for like centuries. Yeah.
You were originally from Africa.
I mean, we're all originally from Africa.
That's debatable. So where do you trace your roots to? What country in Africa?
I don't, because I was like in America, and my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother. So like, I don't think we have the documentation, because like the slave trade sort of ruined that.
Weird, okay.
But yeah, we've been in America for hundreds of years, many generations.
What's that?
I'm from South Africa.
But he's crazy.
Are you considered an African American?
Officially, legally, I have an African passport, South African, and an American passport, so that would make me legally
An African American. So you're black.
I'm African American.
And I don't say African Americans. Please understand something. I don't condemn Africans, I don't criticize Africans, but I don't know anything about Africa. I've never been to Africa. I don't know the streets. I don't have any cousins. I don't know any friends. I know nothing about Africa. I was born, bred, raised right here in America. I am 100% American, and I am nothing else. I'm okay with that. You don't need to call me an African American. I don't need the prefix put on the front of who I am, because now you're trying to take away from my Americanism. So that's how I am. You may be different, that's fine. You want to chase your heritage in Africa, that's fine. I chase mine here in America because I see America from a different perspective now. I understand the importance of America and how great America is. That's why people are running here.
A lot of people talk about how black people have an outsized impact on culture. I would argue that they are American culture, right? Every good part of American culture comes originally from black people. Our economic foundation, if you read The Half Has Never Been Told by Edward Baptiste, it talks about how in the 1800s and the 1900s, we really benefited from heavily subsidized, essentially free labor, right? Slavery's impact cannot be understated in our ability to grow this nation at such a rapid rate. We owe them everything, right? And from slavery, from that, comes all of the modern music we love, right? The blues, jazz, all born out of a time when black people had no hope for the future, right? So they would sing, and all of that became the music that is loved internationally. If you go anywhere in the world, the American music that people are listening to all comes from black people, right? So when there's any controversy about this Juneteenth, I really want people to think long and hard about where this country would be without black people. Essentially nowhere, right? We definitely wouldn't be cool, right? You wouldn't be able to go to a cafe in Amsterdam or a nightclub in Bangkok and listen to things that are familiar to you. All of that is due to black people.
Okay, I have a master's degree in Black History, and this Black History Month, I have vowed to share a new fact every day, something that you probably would not learn in school. Did you know black people have lived in America since before the country was even officially established? 20 African descended people arrived in Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619 on a ship called the White Lion, and they had been actually traded for food and other things from a Portuguese slave ship. All 20 of the African people who were on the ship were intended to become indentured servants when they arrived in what would become America. Two of those people are Isabel and Anthony Tucker. They were working for a man named Captain William Tucker as indentured servants. And in 1624, they, after being married, had a son named William Tucker. They named him after the captain. So William Tucker became the first Black person, the first African descended person to be born in what would become America. You might call him the first African American. The only other information we really have about William Tucker is that when he was around 10 or 11, his parents were freed. They were indentured servants. They were not slaves because slavery was not yet legal in Virginia. It took a couple decades for that to happen. They bought a farm in Kent, Virginia, and he lived on the farm, we presume. We have no idea what actually happened to him and his family. His descendants have been trying to find out since. William Tucker's birth is evidence of something that feels really empowering if you're a Black person, which is that Black people have been here, have been in the United States for as long as it's been the United States, since before it was the United States. One more time for the people in the back, Black history is American history, okay? Happy Black History Month. I'll see you tomorrow for some more facts.
No colored people, or for whites only. Can you imagine? I want to learn Black history. I'm on Amelia Island, just north of Jacksonville in northern Florida. I stopped by to see this historical marker. Have you ever actually stopped and looked at one of these things? American Beach was established in 1935 under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln Lewis, one of Florida's first Black millionaires. Florida's beaches were racially segregated until the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You could not go to the main beaches in the Jacksonville area. You had to drive all the way up here to Amelia Island, which is still kind of out of the way. Because of this, American Beach became regionally popular since it was one of the few beaches in the Southeast open to African Americans. You know how there's always a bunch of signs at the beach, no driving or no pets or whatever. Imagine you're at a white beach and one of the things that it says is no colored people or for whites only. Can you imagine? Other sites in American Beach trace their history to the Civil War era. In 1862, Union forces captured Amelia Island and the freed slaves founded Franklintown at the south end of this island. The Franklintown Cemetery still exists today. Whoa, it still exists, and it's on Highway A1A. Let's check it out. I just found the site of the historical Franklin Cemetery. Uh-oh, better call this number. I was unable to reach anyone, but I went around to the side where there's just a little hedge between me and the cemetery, so I can check it out from here. I need to remember that all this history is in the family history of so many Americans today. It's in their memories, it's part of their identity, and that's why it's important to know this.
Not every Black Brit has a lineage tied to slavery. Granted, a lot of Black people that live in England now, they definitely do. But considering that Europe's relationship with Africa started some 2,000 years ago, and before there was even white people, there were actually Moors. Now, if you don't know what the word Moor is something that Black people were referred to as before we were considered NIGGERs. Because we were never considered just fucking human beings or our names. Damn, hey bitch, my name's Sally. But yeah, they were either called Moors or Blackamoors. Most of these Blackamoors came from Spain, Northeast or Northwest Africa. Now, it's important to note that during this time, there were white and Black people living amongst each other. Now, this was like the beginning of the end of Blackamoors in the UK. And before most of them were expelled out of the UK or turned into servants, i.e. slaves, they were a part of the aristocratic party, the royal courts and households. For instance, Queen Elizabeth I had a couple of Blackamoors in her retinue. And a retinue is basically important people to the monarchy. Although the Blackamoors' history is slowly dying, there are still so many things named after Blackamoors in the UK. Things like street names and landmarks, antiques and art. There's literally a village called Blackmore in Hampshire, which is in southern England. There's so many different villages and towns called Blackmore, and there's literally even a village called Blackamoor Hill in Derbyshire. But the Blackamoor history, they don't wanna attribute that to England's history. There's even a Blackamoor Scotland. Like, stop playing with me. Go ahead and give me a follow. I teach Black history that's not taught in schools. Also subscribe to my YouTube, which is in the link tree in my bio. But yeah, did y'all know this?
A lot of people don't know that America tends to cover up the history of its Afro-Native Americans, okay? So the Native American depiction that they mainly show in the mainstream is often a straight-haired, lighter-complected almost Euro representing person. However, the kinky haired black beings, we're also Native Americans. I am Native American in the flesh. So make sure you guys are tapping into your history, know where you really come from, know what land you originate from.